Thoughts on relocating for partner's career? Should you prioritize your own geographical stability?
If you're the man, absolutely. You're the king of your kingdom. You should not be chasing some girl all over the world. So it's interesting because one of the newsletters that I filmed this morning was that very case where the guy still does not have the power in his relationship, and so therefore he's displaying a lot of unattractive behavior that's preventing her from falling in love, and so he makes her his mommy at times and makes her the leader a lot. And so what this does is it causes her to lose respect and go, I'm not sure, there's no chemistry, I think I'm going to move away. Why don't you move with me? And he's like, man, I don't want to live in that. They were talking about moving to Boston, Massachusetts. And it's like, and also New York was another one, the first one. He's like, and as soon as he says, like, I don't want to live in New York. He's like, if you're going to move to New York, then we're going to break up. I'm not moving. I have no interest in living in New York. And she goes from like, not giving a shit to, oh, I love you. And, they have great sex. And so he stands up for himself and doesn't agree to do something that he doesn't want to do. And it really attracts her to him. But then the next moment he does something until he vacillates and then puts her right back in the leadership role again and totally turns her off where she loses interest and becomes unsure and talks about moving somewhere else. And so, because I've seen like worst case scenario over the years, I've done a lot of phone sessions with guys, especially guys that date internationally. It's bad enough when you live in the same country and then you sell your house, you sell your extra car, maybe you sell your boat because you live in the south, and then you move up to north where it's cold and there's nowhere to use the boat. And so you sell all that shit. You sell a lot of your possessions and you go move to be with this girl that you really like because it's what makes her happy and what she wants. And then you got these, or the guy's in another country. Maybe say the guy's in Europe and he's dating a girl in the United States. And because of the, they meet at like a company retreat or something like that, an annual type meeting that a lot of companies have where you're there for a week and they have speakers come in and, it's like a rah-rah thing and it's a nice retreat as well, a nice perk. You meet somebody, you click, you're screwing each other's brains out for a week. She goes back to her office in the States. He flies back to his office in the UK, and then she wants him to move to the United States. And because he loves her so much and he's kind of a pleaser, that he sells his house, he sells, some rental properties. Maybe the market isn't that good at that time, but he really wants to move and be with his girl. And so he sells the rental properties, takes a loss on it, and has to wait for a year and a half before a transfer and a position opens up to where he can make a lateral move in the company to be in that same particular office. And so he's waited all this time. They're flying back and forth, gets there, and then 2 weeks later she dumps him and then starts screwing somebody else in the same office because he couldn't tell that she wasn't that into him. And after all said and done, he's like, he moves from an area that he loves. He knows everybody, great office, doing well. And he's selling properties at a loss, literally losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. And gets there and she dumps him and starts screwing somebody else in the office. And so think about that from a man's perspective. You move there and in a place where the climate sucks, and he didn't like the climate. He liked the climate where he came from, but he was doing it to please her. And so now he's in a new city, doesn't know anybody. He's one of the managers of the company who was dating somebody, I guess, that worked under him. And now she's fucking some other dude who's lower down on the totem pole at the company as well. And so he has to work with these people. And he's living in the snow. He's away from everybody he loves and his family. And he doesn't even have the girl that he basically spent 2 years of his life trying to go be with her. And so it's super important as a man, if you're going to move, it's because the place you're going to move to, you're stoked about living there. You really want to live there. And if it didn't work out with your girl, you wouldn't, it'd be sad. You'd be brokenhearted, but the place is so cool. You'd stay there regardless, and you'll just meet somebody and make new friends there. But I see a lot of cases, and it's like this one email that I was doing this morning, was that he didn't want to move anywhere, and anytime he was kind of going along with it, he really loves where he's at, and he doesn't want to move, but he didn't have the balls to stand up to her and just say, I'm not moving anywhere. She's like, oh, I want to be closer to family. And then, you know, they go and he's hanging out during the holidays with the family, and the family is like, yeah, telling her, the brother, like, yeah, you guys aren't in love. It's clear there's something missing there. And he really digs this girl, but she's not that into him because he keeps making her the man in the relationship. And so she goes from, I'm going to move away, to he's like, I'm not moving there. And she's like, I love you. And so, but when she decides to stay, then the very next day, he's doing something to basically make her the man in the relationship again. And she goes from being turned on the day before to being totally turned off because he vacillates back and forth between being a man and being indecisive, being a leader and then following her and making her the leader. And so it's like her interest is like up and down, all over the place. And so it's, for him, in that case, it's important to say, I'm not moving anywhere. If you move, we're breaking up. So figure it out, but I'm not moving anywhere. I love it here. I'm established. I got everything dialed in. And it's like, if you're to move away, I want to stay here and I'll meet somebody else. That needs to be your attitude. As a man, you should never move somewhere to please a woman because she won't respect you for it. It's just like when war is happening and you've been drafted and your country's sending you to fight. And your girl's like, I love you. I don't want anything to happen to you. Don't go. Your duty is to go as a man. Your country has basically said you have to go to war. And as men, that you got to do what is your duty, even if your wife cries. But if you bitch out and you go on the lam and you go AWOL, over time she's not going to respect you because you didn't do your duty. She's not going to trust your masculine core because even though she didn't want you to, the right thing was to honor your duty as a man, as a citizen of your nation when your country calls. It's like, that's what a man does. He goes. He has to do his duty, whether she likes it or not. And if you're not doing your duty, she's going to lose respect for you. If you move somewhere to kiss her ass and please her, she's not going to respect you. Because oftentimes guys will move, and then they have to take a lesser job, making less money, or a company not as cool. And so they don't feel as confident. You know, she gets a raise, but he takes a pay cut, and it screws up the power dynamics. She loses respect. She starts testing him, squeezing his balls, and he just starts flailing because he doesn't realize that he's not man enough to stand up for what he believes in. And if a man won't stand up for what he believes in, a woman's not going to trust his leadership. She won't trust that what he says she can rely on. And a woman needs you to be real with her and be honest. And that's why women love the assholes more than a super nice guy, because at least the asshole will call them out and put them in their place and show them who's daddy.
So I have this friend. I remember one time I was in one of my Disney trips with my group of friends.
One time at band camp?
Yeah. And I remember we have this one friend that we like to mess around with him a lot. But we did have, next thing you know, there was a conversation that we had about, relationships. And we literally asked him, if your significant other were to move to a different state because, she gets a good salary or whatever the case may be, and it'd be good for if you were to want to start a family with that person, would you do it? Without hesitation, he was like, no. So I totally understand because it's something I've never experienced, at least not yet. But I do understand the overwhelmingness of the fact that it's like this huge chapter in your relationship. Potentially, it's this huge move. But I also would like to think that if I really want to, first and foremost, I have to really feel for that person. I want to make sure I'm that much into that person.
Jocelyne just confirmed once again, women don't give a shit about what a great dude you are or how handsome you are or how big your bank account is. If they ain't feeling it, it doesn't fucking matter.
No, it is true.
I have to care about how they feel about you.
I've mentioned in a lot of videos, you can have the biggest dick in the world, you can look like an Adonis, but if I connect with you and you have a good personality, yeah, I'll be honest. I will confirm. It's about how we feel at the end of the day.
Say one thing. Women have to know the only way you're going to own their heart is if they know that if they push you too far, you'll walk and never look back. And like this one guy I'm thinking of that moved from Europe to the United States, moves to an area that's cold. He didn't want to move there. His girlfriend knew he didn't like the area. And that was a big part of the problem, is that he was moving to be with her. He was giving up what made him happy to be with her, even though it was miserable. And so she lost respect for him, even though he did what she said she wanted. If he was a man, if he was man enough, he would have been like, I love it here. I'm established. I got rental properties. I'd love to have you come and stay with me and you get a promotion here. But I hate the cold weather, and there's no way in hell I'm going to come and live in all that snow and ice. I can deal with it when I come to visit you. I love visiting you. But if we're going to stay together, it's like, and somebody's going to move, it's like, you're going to be moving here, or it's not going to work. And when a man loves himself enough to let his woman go, if being where she wants him to be is going to make him unhappy, it's amazing that the flip, how quickly it changes to, okay, I'll move to you, versus, oh, you need to come here. And so a man does what he must. And, it's like the Tom Petty song, hey, if you think you can do better than me, go. If I don't take you all the way, then go. But remember, good love is hard to find. And so as a man, you got to have that attitude. The strongest negotiating position is being able to walk away and mean it. And if you're going to merge your families or your relationship in the same area, then it's going to have to be on a man's terms. And it's going to have to, a man cannot make himself less happy to move somewhere to please his woman, because she's not going to respect that behavior, because he's basically being a bitch and not standing up for himself and what he wants. And if you don't have the balls to stand up for yourself and what you want and what makes you happy, she's not going to feel safe with you. She's not going to trust your masculine core. She's not going to be able to trust what you say, because you're doing things that you are against what you feel internally. So if you can't protect yourself and what you love and what's important to you, how are you going to protect her and potentially any kids you may have? So you only move as a man when you're stoked to be there, when living there is an upgrade. Doesn't matter whether or not the girl is with you. And so in that case, if you're moving somewhere and you're stoked to be there, then hell yeah, move. And the girl just becomes icing on the cake. She becomes the dessert.
So with moving with your significant other, that's how I got here in Florida.
Mm. She followed her man.
I did. I mean, it didn't work out on the long run, but because I liked him. We hadn't even been dating that long, and he was just looking for different jobs around like the area, like Charleston, because he lived in North Carolina and I lived in South Carolina. It was like an hour and 30 minutes away.
Jay was in love, though.
Yeah, I was. So he's like, well, I got accepted in Florida, and he's like, and he asked me if I would want to move, and I was like, my best friend had just died, and so I was like, yeah, I'll move with you. So I moved with him to North Carolina until his job was ready, and then we came here, and that's it. But I mean, like Corey was saying, like, men have to follow their purpose, and like if the girl comes, that's wonderful, but if she doesn't, then it's not like the world is over. He still has his goals that he's working towards and still accomplishing them. And if she wants to share that with him, that's great. But if not, there's so many other women that want to share that time with him.
You got to drive the fun bus.
Yeah. It's like what Corey said. Like, it's also in part like how a man, I mean, same with, applies to a woman. It's definitely how you feel about that person too. But that's like half of it. It's just a matter of, like we've mentioned, that like we can all agree with that. It also has to do with, like, if this is, like, a place that you would really see yourself living in.
That's how I did that. That's the second time I did that, because I moved to Hawaii.
Yeah, because I would have, honestly, if it were up to me, I mean, I know I would get very overwhelmed, but if I really feel for that person a lot and I think I would be chill where I'm at, I would consider it. But it is definitely, like, a huge thing, because, like, for a lot of people, you're just trying to, like, build a relationship, trying to build a family. And so sometimes, you know, I know that I have, like, my best friend, for example, one of the reasons why he ended up moving up north was because his girlfriend had, like, a really good job opportunity. And in part, he did it for that. But he also wanted to move where they were going to move, where they ended up moving to. He did want to move there as well. So it worked out. You know, not only was she getting a higher salary, but he was okay with that too.
Right.
So it really just depends. It's
some
like half
men's
and half.
jobs you can, like, if they have like different jobs with, like, if you're a plumber or something like that, or you can get pretty much a job anywhere in any location. So if your job is like universal where you're always needed, then I could see where a man would move to be with the woman. But if it's not, then you just have to find somebody else.